because there's a ton of receivers, and if you're going to find value, this is where, in my experience for fantasy drafts this year, wide receivers were passed on more than any other position. I was telling guys, listen, I don't believe in strategy at the 8th spot, the 9th spot, the 12th spot, the one. Look, you've got the 1 spot, take Lamar Jackson. If you take Nick Fitzgerald, if you two. I don't believe in all that, right? I believe with the obvious and then let it play out. But if there's one trend that I've noticed with drafts, it's that wide receivers stayed on the board really late, and good wide receivers stayed on the board after the draft, and good wide receivers are still in your free agent pool right now as I film this show and you're listening to it. It's your job to go find them if you need that depth. But let's get into a few of them. Teddy Veal at 12. We talked about Louisiana Tech. If you love Jamar Smith, you got to like Teddy Veal. I even like Alfred Smith. We threw him in there at 54. They're like, what do you like? Guys, look at Trent Taylor last year. Look at Carlos Henderson. I love the system. I just love the system, and sometimes you have to go with system guys. You want a system guy? How about Zach Abey at Navy? Navy quarterback. Look what they do every single time. As long as the quarterback stays healthy, the quarterback is a fantasy stud, right? So sometimes you have to play the system. One guy at 30, Keyshawn Johnson, wide receiver, Fresno State. I really love Keyshawn Johnson this year. I think he could do I think he's going to put up really good numbers at Fresno State. The one thing that I warn you is Fresno State's got a matchup against Alabama and Washington coming up. He's not going to give you much in the first few games of the year, but it'll be interesting to see him get out of the gate fast. I think he'll do that this week, and I think he's a real interesting week 1 start for you guys as you got him ranked 30. John Ursua, wide receiver, Hawaii, right? I have to be honest with you. I don't know if he would be at 35 had I not seen him play last week. That's where those 5 early games came into play this week, is that we at least got to see a snapshot of some of the things of what to expect moving forward, right? The question was, why didn't we have Bryce Love ranked too high? Well, we were really worried Bryce Love wasn't going to get the goal line carries. And you know what? It looks like Bryce Love will not get the goal line carries. If he does, he spikes way up. But if he's just going to give me 140 yards every week and not score a touchdown, then, sort of makes him an average fantasy back, running back 2 flex option for most of you fantasy owners. He will find the end zone, but you kind of get my point. Sometimes you got to realize the system, you got to realize the history, and you got to draw from that. Let's get into value plays. I mentioned Alfred Smith at 54. We're used to seeing LSU grind it out. I really think the offensive coordinator, Canada, up at LSU is going to do some things with DJ Chark this year. I think DJ Chark could be a nice surprise at 64. I think he's a good value play. If you've been on our exclusive email for the past month, you will know that I've been telling you guys that Gregory Phillips, Anthony Mahungu, and we're probably 2, and Jackson Anthrop were the 3 top receivers up at Purdue, right? I've been telling you guys that for a month. The depth chart came out. Who's sitting there? Gregory Phillips, Mahungu, and Jackson Anthrop. And Jackson Anthrop has an "or" by his name. So it looks like Phillips and Mahungu are really rock solid right now. And I have to tell you, in that offense, if Purdue can duplicate anything anywhere close to what Western Kentucky did last year, they're incredible steals that probably didn't even get drafted in a lot of FBS leagues that could be in your free agent pool right now. And I think both of those guys are worth an addition to your roster. I think Jonathan Duhart at Old Dominion is going to have a good year. A great matchup in week 1 against Albany. If you're really struggling at the wide receiver position, he might be someone that you're interested this week. Another guy that we're on, and we sent him out an exclusive email as well, was Cal receiver, and I hope I pronounced this right, Kanawe Noah, right? We've been reading about this guy through camp. We know they got Demetrius Robertson, right? But Kanawe Noah has really opened some eyes in fall camp. He opened up as the starter on the depth chart. And what's surprising is Marquise Stovall is like number 3 now. So Noah has really must look impressive. And you know what? You don't get a lot of eyes there at Cal camp, but it's a great matchup in week 1, opening up against North Carolina. I'm really intrigued. There's a lot of questions in that game that needs to be answered between UNC quarterback, UNC receivers, UNC running backs, Cal wide receivers minus Demetrius Robertson. I think we got Trey Watson there. Interesting to see Ross Bowers at quarterback. that's a game I'm going to kind of monitor and keep my eyes on moving forward for this weekend. And two other value plays. Well, I got three other value plays, guys, and you got to go farther down the list. So you really have to be in a deep league. But we threw out Jamal Custis in the preseason for Syracuse. I think he's a name worth watching because you guys know how we were last year, right? We were high on the Syracuse Steve Ishmael, right? Didn't pan out. He didn't wind up being the go-to guy. But you know what? Irvin Phillips had a pretty good year. I think he caught 90 passes last year. I think he's going to be just as good this year. But if Ishmael can't do it on the outside this year, maybe Custis does. I think he's a name that you have to watch. The guy's got a body like a freak, and supposedly he can go up and get the ball. So he could be a red zone threat that Syracuse utilizes as we move forward in 2017. I think TCU, I mentioned that early in the year, TCU needs one more receiver to really kind of jump to the next level with their offense because they sputtered down the stretch last year. I'm wondering if John Diarse is the guy to partner up with Cavante Turpin. I don't know. It seems like TCU is a crapshoot at wide receiver, for the last 2 years. But John Diarse is a name that I'm kind of keeping tabs on. And I have to tell you, a guy that I do like, incredible value. He may be a guy you just kind of stash on your roster. I'm really intrigued to see what he can do. Is J.D. Spielman at Nebraska? I know Tyjon Lindsey is getting all the publicity. The freshman's getting all the hype. But something inside me feels that J.D. Spielman has better fantasy value in 2017 than Lindsey. Mark that down. I said it. We'll see what happens, right? And so, guys, that's really just about it. That's all I have at the wide receiver position. So I've gone through quarterbacks. I've gone through running backs. I've gone through receivers.